Welcome everyone, happy to see you again. From this video to upcoming videos, we can learn about the basics of civil engineering, and from this video, we can learn about the plinth beam. And let we start. Plinth beam is the reinforced structural member, which is constructed between the ground level and plinth level. And also plinth beam is constructed between the walls and foundations. It does not carry any loads from the slab, but it is transferring the loads of walls to the substructure. It is playing a vital role for every masonry walls, at ground floor. IS 2911 Part 3 1980 is followed for plinth beam. Why should we construct plinth beam? To transfer the loads from the walls evenly to the substructure. To avoid the differential settlement of the structure, due to the failure in substructure. To restrict the development of crack from the foundation, to walls. To avoid the seepage attack on walls, from the ground earth surface during rainy season. To restrict the effective length of columns, when the distance between the columns are higher. To create the bond between the columns. To rise the level of ground floor from the natural ground level, with respect the level of road. To elevate the superstructure, to avoid the entry of rain water. There is some common dimensions are used in practice for plinth beam. Breadth of plinth beam is based on the distance between the two columns, and based on this, breadth can be differ from 200 mm, 400 mm. Usually the breadth of plinth beam can be designed as 230 mm, and it's sufficient for the residential buildings. Breadth of plinth beam can also be designed from the final course of the foundation. Depth of plinth beam should not be less than 200 mm, and up to 600 mm depth for plinth beam is adopted. The depth of plinth beam is based on the level of the adjacent road level. Depth of plinth beam is based on the load, which is the intensity of load from the masonry wall, acting over the plinth beam. Intensity of the wall may differ based on the height masonry wall and type of masonry. Mostly, height of the masonry wall will be 3 meters. As well as, the depth of plinth beam is gained with respect to the atmosphere and other requirements. We know that, the plinth beam is RCC member. So, it contains both the concrete, and steel reinforcement bars. The sufficient grade of concrete, and rebar for the plinth beam is follows. Concrete. M20 grade of concrete is sufficient to construct the plinth beam, for any residential buildings. Which means target strength of concrete must not be less than 20 Newton per millimeter square. M20 grade concrete contains, 1 part of cement, 1.5 parts of fine aggregate, and 3 parts of coarse aggregate. Fe 415 steel is the acceptable grade of steel, which is good for plinth beam in residential. Fe 415 steel is the acceptable grade of steel, which is good for plinth beam in residential buildings. 3 numbers of 12 mm of diameter bars can be provided as bottom reinforcement, and 2 numbers of 10 mm diameter bars can be provided as top reinforcement. And for the shear reinforcement 8 mm of diameter bar, at 250 mm center. From this video we can learn about the basics and general dimensions of plinth beam. Plinth beam is very essential for earthquake zones. Plinth beam is protecting the walls from the seepage, cracks due to the differential settlement of foundation. The overall dimension of the plinth beam is follows.
Thank you everyone. If you like this video, thumbs up, and subscribe my channel and keep sharing.